Alright, so we're back on the Ashish Narayan Sports and Political Podcast. Lots to share with you. But, so, part of the reason why I haven't been able to um, discuss more issues, be more regular in my podcasts, is because I've had this big event that just completed. Global Conference of the Model United Nations. And I thought it would be I enjoyed it. It was a very fun, very interesting conference. Great dance as well. But I thought I really wouldn't take away anything from that I could apply to the podcast, right? Or use as material for the podcast. That's a better way to put it. I did, to my disdain, find some. Okay. I found that the people in this world are so ridiculously stupid. Okay? Not everyone, not the majority, but there was a faction of people that were so ridiculously stupid that underscore the importance of why you need smart people running the UN. Why you need Nikki Haley over someone like John Kerry. Obviously, he's a Democrat. Never would be appointed by Trump, but that's just an example, right? So I went there 2 days, unmoderated and moderated caucuses, coming up with drafts, coming up with working papers. Last day, amendments to draft resolutions, editing of those. And what turned out to pass, this passed as resolution, was complete nuclear disarmament by the year 2031. And to put this in perspective, the cost to dismantle a nuclear weapon in a decade is $7 billion per warhead. 16,000 of those warheads exist. Comes out to a cost of about $114 trillion. Obviously, 16 times 7 is 112, so it's about 16,000. $114 trillion. And this is funded by the Middle Eastern countries that have lots of wealth, quote unquote. Now the chair clapped and said, "We did such a great job." Right? No, they were saying that to be nice because what passed was the most ridiculous, the most stupid piece of diplomacy, air quotes, that you could possibly find, maybe in the history of this planet. The stupidest idea in the history of this planet. That's how bad it was. I mean, it's ridiculous. Something that cost 114 trillion, you're gonna ask developing economies to bear the majority of the financial burden, and you're gonna ask for this to be done in 13 years? That is an absolute joke. Now, mind you, the resolution that I supported was pretty terrible too. I miswrote a lot of stuff. A lot of that blame is on me for it not getting through in the first place. But this idea that there's going to be international funds to pay for multiple expensive defense systems to block nuclear weapons, massive funding for Generation 4 nuclear reactors, which is a risky and very large investment, and funding to many small nations, which would cost a lot of money to help them develop their economies. Now, obviously, these are not real resolutions. It's Model UN for a reason. But the total disregard of the sheer magnitude of costs, even in the more reasonable resolution, was astoundingly terrible. And then in the one that passed, the worst piece of legislation ever created in humankind by anyone. Okay, the one that passed was 600 times worse. That is a joke. And you know what it shows me? I wish I was in the other committees to see what happened in those. We were in Dissect, Disarmament and International Security. To get two jokes of a resolution, one that was so terrible, I am repeatedly calling it the worst deal, resolution, law, whatever, in the history of mankind. Mankind, not mankind. Mankind. It shows you the philosophy of people nowadays. Everybody wants the world to be utopian, to there be no risk, everybody's happy. Okay? World peace will never be achieved. For everyone that wants X, there's another one that wants Y. That is a simple, honest truth in life, in politics, and international affairs. So there is never going to be unified cooperation. There are always going to be threats. And the theory behind nuclearization is mutually assured destruction. And with the cost per warhead, you can't get rid of very many at the same time. We're $20 trillion in debt. You want us to get rid of all of our nuclear weapons? That is a joke. And it is shocking that a conference that's supposed to include the smartest people in the world, I'm not calling myself that, I don't think I am that, I'm just very passionate about the issue, could come up with something so stupid and pass it all the while. It shows you the utopian philosophy of this generation, the unrealistic expectation. Banish all guns. Get rid of all risk. There's a reason we have guns. to prevent tyranny. If it doesn't happen, that's good. That's not a reason to say get rid of them. The reason we used nukes was to end the most devastating war that this planet has ever seen. Not because we wanted to kill people. There's a reason a nuclear weapon has not been dropped since 1945. That doesn't mean we get rid of them. Because North Korea is crazy. Because Iran is close to crazy. You need mutually assured destruction to thwart the crazy. You give them the power, you not only do you face a nuclear threat, they can use that to then be a bargaining chip for everything else that you want to achieve. If you want real diplomacy, you have to be in a stronger position. Never mind the existential threat. Now, obviously, I think the numbers of total weapons can be reduced and used towards nuclear energy, which is a cheap, not cheap, but a way to invest in clean energy that doesn't require too much of a strain on the economy or on business. But mutually assured destruction is an important bargaining chip, and it's important to keep the world order. And if you're going to take that away and put the power in rogue states where they're obviously going to get it. Look at Iran. Look at North Korea. We had diplomatic, quote-unquote, relations with these countries. In 1994, we made a deal to stop the North Korea situation that we have today from ever happening. You can't play nice with them. You have to play mean. There's been proof throughout our negotiations with rogue states that you have to be mean with these countries in order to gain an edge. The START program, the reduction of nuclear weapons, apparently it's a mutual thing. That started a shift in policy which put Ukraine and the rest of small Europe at risk. It puts Iran on a path to a nuclear weapon. It puts North Korea and its crazy leader on a path to a nuclear weapon. And by the way, we discussed the United States and North Korea's tensions. No, there are no tensions. This idea that there are tensions is a joke. They don't have a functioning nuclear warhead. We're trying to stop that by changing a policy that would have led to that anyway. We can't play nice with them because they're insane. A couple tweets is not going to lead into a full-fledged war. No shots have been fired. No one has been killed. No war has even broken out. No missiles have been launched that are successful. Nothing has happened between the two countries in terms of physical interactions of violence against the other. So stop talking about tensions because of a couple tweets. We're extrapolating things out of this that don't exist. And again, this is why I fear leadership on the global stage for the next generation. because of this utopian worldwide philosophy that we can get rid of everything that's bad and live in a kumbaya world. For every X, there is a Y. That's how it's always worked in international politics, in domestic politics. Everywhere in the world, this is how it's been. Since mankind. So to say that it's going to stop now and to give rogue states the favor is a joke. And I know this resolution's fake. I know it doesn't matter. But guess what? If it doesn't matter now, in 30 years, when these are the people representing the most powerful nations in the world, and something like this actually passes, and those crazy people actually demand this to be done, there's a reason the NPT was signed without a affirmative deadline on denuclearization. Because they were smart enough to foresee the challenges, the time, and the obstacles that no one thought of, such as war, tension, conflict, actual tension and conflict. When we disregard that and look for an immediate utopian society which will never exist, which has never existed before structured government, even before structured government, I should say, we expect a completely different result by doing things that haven't worked. Please. If we're going to bring about change as a generation, we've got to change our minds first. We've got to realize how the world has worked, how the world has always worked, and adjust to that. Because the world won't change for you. However many stupid radio songs may say that. You've got to change for it. Especially if you're a leader of the major powers and the greatest country on earth, the United States of America. Okay, coming up next, the Mueller probe and the Florida shooting aftermath reaction. That's all next.